Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the data streaming across her quantum display, her heart racing as she double-checked the calculations for the seventh time. The signal was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, a perfectly structured sequence of prime numbers followed by what appeared to be a mathematical proof of dark matter manipulation. After 20 years of searching the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, HFY had finally found something undeniable. "Director Matthews needs to see this," she whispered, her fingers trembling as they flew across the haptic interface. The discovery would change everything. Humanity's place in the universe, their understanding of physics, and perhaps their very survival. 12 light-years away, aboard the Concordiate vessel Eternal Vigilance, first observer Tyleth reviewed the preliminary assessment of Sol 3, designated Earth by its indigenous inhabitants. His crystalline sensory nodes pulsed with concern as he studied the unusual development patterns of the planet's dominant species. Most peculiar, he communicated to the ship's hive mind. They achieved nuclear fission before developing unified planetary governance. Their technological progression is chaotic, driven by competition rather than collective advancement. The response from the hive mind was immediate. Anomalous development patterns indicate potential threat. Species requires detailed assessment. Silith's attention shifted to the historical data. In mere centuries, these humans have progressed from primitive combustion engines to quantum computing. Their military technology evolved at an even more alarming rate, each major conflict spawning innovations that should have taken millennia of peaceful development. "Begin signal transmission," he commanded. The test had to be initiated before the humans developed FTL capability on their own. The Concordiate had encountered other young species before, but something about humanity's development felt different, dangerous. Back on Earth, the response to the signal was immediate and unprecedented. Within hours, every major space agency and research institution was analyzing the data. Dr. Chen found herself suddenly at the center of a global scientific revolution. "The signal isn't just a greeting," she explained to the hastily assembled UN Security Council. "It's an invitation, or a test. The mathematical proofs embedded within it could revolutionize our understanding of physics, but they're incomplete. They want to see how we'll respond." General Diana Santos, recently appointed head of the newly formed Extraterrestrial Defense Initiative, leaned forward. "And what makes you so sure this is a test, Dr. Chen?" Sarah pulled up a holographic representation of the signal structure. "Because they're deliberately showing us technology we don't have yet, but in a way that suggests they know we're capable of understanding it. They're gauging our reaction." In low Earth orbit, automated defense platforms quietly came online, their quantum sensors scanning for any sign of approaching vessels. Humanity had spent centuries imagining first contact, but now that it was happening, no one was quite sure if they should celebrate or prepare for war. Aboard the Eternal Vigilance, Tyleth observed the humans' response with growing unease. They had decoded the signal 30% faster than predicted, and their military preparations showed a level of paranoid efficiency that bordered on prescience. "Initiate deep scan of their information networks," he commanded. The results were troubling. Humans had thousands of detailed scenarios for alien contact, ranging from peaceful exchange to total war. They had been imagining and preparing for this moment since before they had powered flight. "Species demonstrates unprecedented capacity for parallel strategic development," the hive mind noted. "Simultaneous preparation for multiple contradictory scenarios indicates dangerous cognitive flexibility." What truly disturbed Silith was humanity's entertainment media. They had been telling stories about alien contact for generations, imagining every possible scenario, preparing their collective consciousness for this moment through what they called science fiction. It was as if they had been expecting the Concordiate all along. "They're responding," his secondary analyst announced. The human reply was elegant in its simplicity. They had completed the mathematical proof, but with an unexpected variation that suggested applications the Concordiate hadn't considered. "Assessment update. The hive mind declared, species displays Class 1 innovation potential. Recommendation: immediate containment or elimination. Xylith's sensory nodes darkened with concern. The last species to display Class 1 potential had nearly destroyed the galaxy in their drive for expansion. The Concordiat had sworn never to allow such a threat to emerge again. But as he prepared to signal the assessment fleet, Xylith noticed something else in the human response. Hidden within their mathematical solution was a message, encoded in a way that showed both intelligence and a surprising sense of humor. "We know you're watching. Would you like to talk?" On Earth, Dr. Chen smiled as she sent the message. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for this moment, not through careful planning or unified strategy, but through something far more powerful: imagination, creativity, and an endless capacity to adapt. The game was about to begin, and for once, humanity wasn't starting from scratch. They had been rehearsing for this moment their entire existence, through every story they told, every war they fought, and every challenge they overcame. The Concordia was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons, but their ability to imagine 1,000 possible futures and prepare for them all simultaneously. The signal wasn't just first contact. It was humanity's first test in a game they had been practicing for their entire history. The Concordia assessment fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, their crystalline ships refracting sunlight in ways that defied conventional physics. General Santos watched the feed from the Kuiper Belt sensors, her expression unreadable as 15 vessels, each larger than anything humanity had ever constructed, took up position around Pluto's orbit. Their beam deliberately obvious, Dr. Chen noted, studying the energy signatures. Those ships could probably cloak themselves if they wanted to. Another test, Santos agreed. They want to see how we react to an overwhelming show of force. In the 3 months since the initial signal, humanity had been preparing, not in the way the Concordia expected, with panic or desperate military buildup, but in a characteristically human fashion. Every major research institution on Earth had been working on understanding and improving the physics principles hidden in the alien signal, while entertainment companies produced new forms of media preparing the public for various first contact scenarios. Aboard the Concordiat command ship Immutable Law, Fleet Commander Zura received First Observer Xylith's report with growing concern. "They've made no attempt to hide their military preparations," she communicated to the hive mind. "But neither have they taken any aggressive action. Their behavior matches none of our standard psychological models. Initiate standard containment protocols," the hive mind commanded. "Begin with the isolation test." The first test came without warning. Every electronic device on Earth simultaneously received the same signal, a complex mathematical puzzle that, if solved, would supposedly prevent the detonation of a quantum device capable of destabilizing the sun. The Concordiat expected panic. They expected humanity to either freeze in terror or launch a desperate military response. What they got instead was something entirely unprecedented. Within hours, the puzzle had been posted on human social media platforms. Millions of people, from professional mathematicians to teenage hobbyists, began working on it simultaneously. They created dedicated forums, shared partial solutions, and approached the problem from angles the Concordiat had never considered. They're crowdsourcing the solution, Xylith observed with disbelief, using their population's cognitive diversity as a problem-solving tool. The solution came not from a major research institution or government think tank, but from a collaboration between a video game designer in Seoul, a quantum physics student in Lagos, and a retired chess grandmaster in Buenos Aires. They didn't just solve the puzzle. They found 3 alternative solutions the Concordiat hadn't known existed. But the Concordiat wasn't finished. The second test targeted humanity's greatest apparent weakness, their division into nation-states. The aliens created a scenario where each major power received different pieces of crucial information, along with subtle encouragement to compete rather than cooperate. "They expect us to fight among ourselves. General Santos explained to the emergency UN session. They don't understand that our divisions are actually our strength. She was right. Centuries of international competition had created robust networks for both official cooperation and unofficial back-channel communication. Information flowed across borders through formal diplomatic channels, corporate partnerships, academic collaborations, and even gaming communities. Dr. Chen watched in amazement as the global response unfolded. We're using our fragmentation as an advantage. Multiple approaches, multiple perspectives, all working toward the same goal, but from different angles. The third test was more direct. The Concordiate ships began broadcasting a signal that triggered feelings of fear and aggression in the human brain. They expected riots, social collapse, a breakdown of order that would justify immediate intervention. Instead, humanity adapted. Street musicians in New York discovered that certain frequencies countered the alien signal. A meditation app developer in Bangalore found that modified mindfulness techniques could block its effects. Humans turned their response into art, into music, into memes that spread across the globe. Impossible, Zaira communicated as she watched humans not just resist the signal, but begin to use it as inspiration for new forms of entertainment. They're treating psychological warfare as a creative challenge. In orbit, the International Space Station crew demonstrated another uniquely human trait. Despite the signal's effects, they maintained their mission, showing that humans could override even artificially induced fear through training and determination. Assessment parameters exceeded, the hive mind announced. Species demonstrates unprecedented adaptive capabilities. Traditional containment protocols insufficient. But it was what happened next that truly shocked the Concordiate. Humans began broadcasting their own signal back to the alien fleet, a complex pattern that combined elements of music, mathematics, and something entirely new. We're not just solving their puzzles anymore, Dr. Chen explained to General Santos. We're creating our own, showing them that we can play this game too. The signal contained fragments of human culture, Shakespeare and Sun Tzu, quantum physics and poetry, war stories and love songs. It was a message that demonstrated not just humanity's technological capabilities, but their fundamental nature. A species that turned every challenge into an opportunity for growth, every threat into a chance for innovation. Aboard the immutable law, Zaira faced a difficult decision. The tests had proven that humanity couldn't be contained through conventional means. They were too adaptable, too innovative, and most disturbingly, they seemed to thrive on challenges that should have broken them. They're not just passing our tests, Kyleth observed. They're learning from them, improving themselves, and creating new possibilities we never imagined. The Concordiate had intended to assess humanity's threat level. Instead, they found themselves facing a species that turned tests into teachers and obstacles into opportunities. The question was no longer whether humanity could be contained, but whether the Concordiate was prepared for what would happen when they tried. The Grand Council chamber of the Concordiate sparkled like a crystalline cathedral, its multidimensional architecture reflecting the assembled minds of 5,000 species representatives. At its center, Fleet Commander Zura presented the results of humanity's assessment, her sensory nodes pulsing with unprecedented urgency. The humans have not merely survived our tests, she transmitted to the assembled consciousness. They have transformed them into opportunities for advancement. In 3 standard months, they have achieved technological progress that should have taken decades. On the quantum displays surrounding the chamber, evidence of humanity's rapid evolution played out. Humans had already begun adapting Concordiate mathematical principles to their own technology. What was more concerning, they were developing applications that the Concordiate had never considered. They'd weaponize our containment protocols. First observer Kyleth added, his transmission tinged with what in a human might have been admiration. The psychological suppression signal we used. They've modified it into a communication system that works faster than our quantum entanglement networks. Back on Earth, Dr. Chen and her team worked through another sleepless night. The quantum computer before her ran scenarios based on reversed-engineered alien mathematics, each solution more surprising than the last. "It's like they gave us a dictionary," she explained to General Santos. "But we're not just learning their language, we're writing new poetry with it." The general nodded, studying the latest defense simulation results. Humanity had taken the alien technology and combined it with centuries of military doctrine in ways that defied conventional logic. "We're not fighting the way they expect us to," she observed. "We're not fighting like a species that just discovered advanced technology. We're fighting like humans," Chen finished. "Like a species that spent its entire history preparing for every possible way to fight." In the Concordia chamber, the debate had turned fierce. Elder species argued for immediate containment, the complete isolation of the Sol system behind temporal barriers. Younger species advocated for forced integration, bringing humanity under direct Concordiate control before they became too powerful to contain. "You fail to understand the fundamental problem," Zura transmitted. "Traditional containment won't work. Not against a species that turns barriers into bridges, that transforms isolation into innovation." She displayed the latest analysis. Humans had already developed theoretical countermeasures to temporal barriers, based solely on their observation of Concordiate ship movements. They hadn't even seen the technology in action yet, but they had imagined ways to defeat it. "Their military simulations are unlike anything in our archives," Stylith added. "Most species develop a single dominant strategy and perfect it over millennia. Humans maintain thousands of competing strategies simultaneously, constantly testing them against each other." The evidence was undeniable. In the short time since first contact, humanity had demonstrated an ability to innovate that bordered on the impossible. They didn't just copy Concordiate technology. They reimagined it, recombined it, discovered applications that thousands of years of unified development had missed. On a lunar defense platform, General Santos received the first warning. The quantum sensors had detected massive energy buildups in the Concordia fleet. "They've reached a decision," she transmitted to Global Command. "And I don't think we're going to like it." But humanity had not been idle during the Concordiate's deliberations. In underground labs and orbital stations, in university clean rooms and corporate research facilities, humans had been preparing. Not with a single unified plan, but with hundreds of contingencies, thousands of possibilities, each tested and refined and ready to adapt. "The thing they don't understand about us," Dr. Chen said as she initiated the quantum defense grid, "is that we've spent our entire history competing with ourselves. Every weapon we've ever built, every defense we've ever designed, was created to counter human ingenuity." The Concordiate's decision came with the sudden arrival of a second fleet, larger than the first. Their message was clear: Earth would be contained, one way or another. Humanity could choose integration into the Concordiate, or face forced isolation from the rest of the galaxy. They expected submission or despair. What they got was something else entirely. Across the planet, humans activated systems that had been theoretical just months ago. Quantum shields based on reversed-engineered Concordia technology sprang up around major cities. But these weren't simple copies, they were human adaptations, designed to counter specific weaknesses that centuries of human conflict had taught them to anticipate. "Send the response," General Santos commanded. Dr. Chen transmitted humanity's message to the Concordiate fleet. It was elegant in its simplicity. "We choose neither. We choose to be human." In the Concordiate chamber, alarms blared as the implications of humanity's response became clear. They hadn't been preparing for either containment or submission. They had been preparing for something the Concordiate had never expected. A third option, a human option. "They're not just refusing our ultimatum," Tylith realized too late. "They're about to show us why their history of internal conflict makes them the most dangerous species we've ever encountered." The real test was about to begin. Not the Concordiate's test of humanity, but humanity's test of themselves. Everything in their violent, competitive, innovative history had prepared them for this moment. The question wasn't whether they would survive. It was whether the Concordiate was prepared for what humanity would become in the face of this challenge. The Concordiate's enforcement fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their crystalline ships arranging themselves in a geometric pattern designed to project maximum psychological impact. It was a display of unity and power that had cowed 1,000 species into submission. Humanity responded with chaos. Thousands of small craft erupted from hidden bases across the solar system, each following different tactical doctrines. Some used modified versions of World War I Wolfpack strategies. Others employed Vietnam-era guerrilla tactics adapted for space warfare, while others demonstrated completely new approaches that combined centuries of human military thinking with reversed engineered alien tech. What are they doing? Kyleth demanded, his sensory nodes flickering in confusion as he watched the human vessels scatter in seemingly random patterns. There's no unified strategy, no coherent doctrine. That's the point, Zyra realized, watching as her carefully orchestrated formation began to break apart under the assault of 1,000 different attack strategies. They're not fighting as one species, they're fighting as though they were 1,000 different species at once. On Earth, Dr. Chen monitored the quantum defense grid from her underground command center. The shields weren't just protective barriers. They were the result of humanity throwing every competitive instinct they had at the problem of defense. Game theorists had collaborated with military strategists. Sports analysts had worked alongside particle physicists, creating systems that adapted and evolved in real time. The Greeks had the phalanx, General Santos remarked, watching the battle unfold. The Romans had the legion. The Mongols had the horseback archer. But humanity, we have them all, and we've spent centuries figuring out how to combine them in ways no one else would imagine. The Concordiate fleet's first coordinated strike should have overwhelmed Earth's defenses through sheer power. Instead, they found their energy weapons scattered by shields that used principles from human martial arts, redirecting force rather than just absorbing it. Their precision targeting was confused by decoy systems based on stage magic principles that humanity had perfected over centuries of entertainment. They're using our own technology against us, a Concordiate commander transmitted frantically. But they're using it wrong. They're using it in ways that shouldn't work. That was humanity's true advantage. They hadn't just copied alien technology. They'd reimagined it through the lens of every culture, every discipline, every crazy idea that had ever been tested in humanity's long history of conflict and competition. In low Earth orbit, a squadron of fighters demonstrated space combat maneuvers based on ancient samurai sword techniques. Near Mars, human ships executed defensive patterns that mimicked the swarm behaviors of Earth insects. Each group fought differently, forcing the Concordiate to face not one enemy, but thousands of different strategic approaches simultaneously. Launch the containment protocol, Zyra commanded, initiating the Concordiate's ultimate weapon, a quantum field designed to isolate the entire solar system from the rest of spacetime. But humanity had been preparing for this too. Dr. Chen activated the Quantum Resonance Network, a planetary defense system that combined Concordiate physics with principles borrowed from human music theory. The harmonics of 1,000 quantum generators, each tuned to frequencies derived from classical human compositions, created interference patterns that the Concordiate had never conceived possible. Like I said, Chen transmitted to the alien fleet, "We've spent our entire history fighting ourselves. Did you really think we wouldn't find a way to fight you?" The battle reached its peak as humanity revealed their masterstroke. They hadn't just adapted Concordiate technology, they transformed it. Every human ship, every defense platform, every quantum shield operated on principles that combined alien science with human innovation in ways that defied conventional logic. "This is impossible," Kyleth transmitted as he watched human vessels phase through Concordiate defenses using principles borrowed from Earth dance choreography. "They're not just using our technology, they're rewriting the rules of how it should work." General Santos allowed herself a small smile as she watched the Concordiat fleet's perfect formation dissolve into chaos. "That's the thing about humans," she transmitted on an open channel. "We don't play by the rules. We never have. Every rule you give us becomes just another challenge to overcome, another limit to push past." The Concordiat's enforcement fleet, faced with strategies they couldn't predict and technologies they couldn't understand, began to retreat. Their unified approach, perfected over millennia, was falling apart in the face of humanity's controlled chaos. "We don't want your empire," Santos continued, her message broadcasting to every Concordiat ship. "We don't want to conquer or be conquered. We just want to be ourselves, to keep growing, learning, competing, and creating in our own unique way." From the quantum defense platforms circling Earth to the smallest fighter craft harassing the alien fleet, humanity demonstrated why they were different. They hadn't developed their technology through peaceful cooperation like most species. They'd forged it in the fires of constant competition, endless innovation, and the relentless drive to overcome every challenge they faced, even those they created for themselves. The Concordiat fleet, for the first time in its history, was forced to acknowledge defeat, not by a superior force or more advanced technology, but by a species that turned everything, even defeat itself, into a tool for victory. In the aftermath of the battle, the debris of broken ships glittered against the backdrop of Earth's atmosphere. But unlike traditional warfare, where victors celebrated and losers retreated in shame, something unprecedented was occurring. Humanity had won, yes, but they were already doing what they did best: learning, adapting, and reaching out to understand their former opponents. Dr. Chen stood before the hastily assembled diplomatic chamber in Geneva, where representatives of both humanity and the Concordiat had gathered. The crystalline forms of alien diplomats refracted light across walls that now displayed a mixture of human art and alien mathematical formulae. "We've spent our entire history imagining this moment," she began, addressing both human and alien delegates. "Not just first contact, but the moment when humanity would have to prove itself worthy of the stars. What we never expected was that our greatest strength would come from what others saw as our greatest weakness." On the main display, images of human history played alongside recordings from the recent battle. Ancient warriors and modern soldiers, artists and scientists, competitors and collaborators, all part of the tapestry that made humanity unique. "Your species is dangerous," Kyleth transmitted, his sensory nodes pulsing with what humans were beginning to recognize as respect. "But not in the way we originally feared. You don't seek to conquer or destroy. You seek to grow, to learn, to become more than you are, even if that process is chaotic and unpredictable." General Santos stepped forward, her uniform bearing the new insignia of Earth's unified defense force. "We fought you not because we wanted to prove our superiority, but because we refused to be limited. Every species in the Concordiat developed through consensus and unity. We developed through diversity and competition." The implications were becoming clear to both sides. The Concordiat had achieved incredible technological advancement through cooperation and standardization. Humanity had achieved similar results through competition and chaos. Both paths led to the stars, but they created fundamentally different kinds of civilizations. "We propose a new kind of relationship," Chen continued. "Not integration into the Concordiat, not isolation from it, but something new, something human." On quantum screens throughout the chamber, the proposal unfolded. Earth would remain independent, but would establish diplomatic and cultural exchange with the Concordiat. Humanity would share their unique perspectives and innovations, while learning from the collective wisdom of thousands of alien species. "Your approach to technology alone has shown us possibilities we never imagined," Zyra admitted. "You take our most fundamental principles and combine them with ideas from your art, your sports, your ancient warfare, creating something entirely new." The chamber hummed with discussion as examples played across the screens. Human scientists had already begun collaborating with Concordiat experts, showing them how principles from Earth's martial arts could improve shield technology, how music theory could enhance quantum communications, how the strategic diversity of human warfare could strengthen space defense. But most importantly, Santos added, we want to show you something that seems to have been lost in the Concordiate's stride for unity and standardization. The power of learning from failure, of embracing chaos as a teacher, of seeing conflict itself as a path to growth. The alien delegates stirred uncomfortably at this notion. The Concordiate had built its power on predictability and control. Humanity was suggesting something radically different. The idea that true advancement came not from avoiding chaos, but from learning to thrive within it. Your species spends resources creating problems for yourselves to solve. Tyleth observed. You simulate conflicts, create artificial challenges, deliberately make things difficult, just to learn from the experience. Exactly, Chen smiled. We don't just solve problems. We create them, study them, learn from them. Every game we play, every story we tell, every competition we hold is practice for moments like this. We turn everything into a learning experience, even our mistakes and failures. The final agreement that emerged was unlike anything in galactic history. Earth would become not a member of the Concordiate, but a partner to it, a bridge between the ordered advancement of unified species and the chaotic innovation of human development. We'll maintain our independence, Santos declared, continue our chaotic way of progress, our competitive drive for advancement. But we'll also share what we learn, show you how diversity of thought and approach can lead to breakthroughs that unity alone might miss. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, Dr. Chen found herself standing next to Tyleth, watching Earth rotate slowly on the main display. You know, she said, we humans have a saying. The most beautiful gardens have a touch of wilderness in them. The alien's sensory nodes pulsed with what might have been amusement. Perhaps, he transmitted, the galaxy needs a little human chaos to reach its full potential. And so began a new chapter in both human and galactic history. Humanity had proven itself not by becoming like other species, but by remaining uniquely human, chaotic, competitive, creative, and constantly evolving. They had shown the galaxy that there was more than one path to the stars, and that sometimes the most dangerous path could lead to the most remarkable destinations. The Concordiate had sought to contain humanity. Instead, they found themselves learning from the very qualities they had feared. And humanity, true to their nature, was already looking forward to the next challenge, the next innovation, the next step in their endless journey of becoming more than they were.